stupid shit.
Hey guys, welcome back. Last week we did part 1, which was number 10 to 6, and my honorable mentions. This week we'll be doing my top 5 favorite films that deal with religious or spiritual material. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 5. So Ang Lee's 2012 film follows Pi, a young man adrift in the Pacific Ocean, and the film is narrated by his older self as he talks about the emotional and spiritual ordeals that he underwent throughout his life. The way Pi grasps with his spirituality, how the film portrays different religions, how they can empower us but simultaneously confuse us due to their abstract nature. How everyone's telling Pi that you can't be a Christian and a Buddhist and a Hindu and a Muslim at the same time. You have to choose one. And he's kind of like, why do I have to choose one? I was 18 when I saw this film. I was going through my own spiritual crisis. And I also love that quote. Faith is a house with many rooms. I think that line right there really illustrates the dynamic, the perennial nature of religion and how we have so much to learn from one another's faith traditions.
Guide us to the end of time.
Unless you love, your life will flash by.
Tree of Life. It's a 2011 film by Terrence Malick. The always courageous and bold Terrence Malick. The people who I've heard from who didn't like this film tend to be people who are not familiar with the work of Terrence Malick. For those of us who are fans of him, Thin Red Line, Days of Heaven, The New World, the movie begins with a story about a family, a journey of a family. He ties it into the birth of the universe. The birth of the universe, cascades into a shot of a sperm cell and how that multiplies and how that forms into the Tree of Life. So Tree of Life, if you haven't checked that out. One of my favorite films of the past decade, spiritual or otherwise.
मेरा दोस्त एक बूंद तक नहीं पी थी उसने पर नाम था पीके.
I think at the heart of the film is a philosophical question. Objectively, what is religion? Similar to Four Lions, the film is not mocking religion in of itself, but rather it's mocking how human beings have co-opted religious elements and turned it into personal gratifications. It's mocking dogmatism pretty much. And PK, it's one of the highest grossing Indian films of all time. And in such a pluralistic country like India, where religion is often unfortunately used to dehumanize others. We're seeing that right now with the current administration of Modi. PK, it's a Bollywood film, rich colors, great music, crowd-pleasing film, but at the same time it has a socially conscious message, which is what I love about Amir Khan. He really straddles that line. So Silence, movie went under the radar, but it's made by Martin Scorsese. It's a 2016 film about Jesuit priests suffering for their faith in 17th century Japan. It's a monumental work that placates what is at the heart of spirituality for many people, and that's suffering, pain, and anguish. This film is so grueling, it's haunting. We think of spiritual films as like very like uplifting and very like, oh yeah, I can do anything I want to. But this film is like, very dark, because often that's what spirituality is. It's work. It doesn't shy away from what's needed for spiritual enlightenment. Scorsese has always dealt with these topics in his films, even the gangster films. There's always that Catholic element in there. Last Temptation of Christ, Kundun, which deals with the Buddhist element. So even though Silence took a box office loss, I hope you guys will check it out. It's my number 2 favorite film.
I'm never going to be able to speak their words.
Got 2 days. Figure something out.
I am human. It's their language. We need to make sure that they understand the difference between a weapon and a tool. Language is messy, and sometimes one can be both.
Arrival is my favorite film of the past decade, if not one of my favorite films of all time, for so many reasons. The sci-fi element, I love sci-fi movies. The way it portrays linguistics, in a logical manner. And I love how it authentically deals with the question of how we would deal with aliens, because often like Independence Day and these other type of movies, like we would just kick their ass and we'd be, yeah, America, yeah, planet Earth. But I think this film really deals with like the actual nuances that it would take. So the film uses that alien element in a brilliant manner, and that's to unite us. The end of the film, similar to like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it bridges what we know about other species and ultimately what we consider to be the shining ideals of humanity. And I'm going to share a link right above me, which I did, which deals with the symbology of the circle, and you see the recurring pattern of the circle in the film. So I'm going to link that above and in the description below. So those are my top 10 favorite religious, spiritual films of the past decade. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I just did this for the end of the year. What were your favorite films of the past decade, spiritual or otherwise? Would love to have some conversations with you guys on, the world of cinema. I'm a huge fan of cinema, even though I'm getting my PhD in psychology. Cinema therapy is actually a type of therapy that mental health professionals actually engage in, which uses cinema and arts to kind of draw out emotional material from individuals. So if you guys want to hear more about that, I can also speak about that. Thank you guys for checking out our episode, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much.